Hey everybody, it's Lavender Town, and today I'm going to be doing an FAQ answering the most commonly asked questions that I get, as well as a bunch of questions that were asked to me on Twitter specifically for this video. And in the background I'm going to be drawing the Meet the Artist tag thing that's been going around. I was tagged a couple times and I thought it looked really fun, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to start with is just my most commonly asked questions. The program I'm usually using is Photoshop. I use Photoshop CS6 and Photoshop CC. There's a special plugin in my Photoshop CS6 where there's a little color wheel. You just have to type in color wheel extension if you want to get that. The brush pack I use is the Kyle T. Webster brush pack, and generally I ink with the inking thick and thin brush. I use a graphics tablet. I use either my Cintiq or I use my Intuos. So that pretty much covers most of the questions I get asked every single video. I also record with QuickTime, which is a program that comes with my MacBook, and I use a Logitech camera for these parts. But otherwise I just use QuickTime for everything. So yeah, with all of that out of the way, I will get started on the Twitter questions. Lily asks, what are your tips for improving shaky line art? What I've found most effective is just avoiding caffeine, not working when you're too tired, and also just making sure that you're not pressing down too hard or too lightly. Try to just have a gentle but firm press with your pen. Cody Mullins asks, what books or exercises would you recommend for improving drawing or painting skills? So in general, I actually taught myself how to draw with YouTube videos. I just watched people do speed paints and I would slow down the video whenever they were doing something I didn't quite understand. I did have good luck with a few, mostly for comic books, so like Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics is one of my favorite all-time like learning how to draw books, because it doesn't really teach you how to draw so much as teach you how to use images more effectively and to do more technical stuff. But yeah, overall I think with drawing and painting the best thing to do is just to experiment and practice a lot. Inky is Dead Inside asks, what's your favorite thing to draw? Also, I love you so much and you are my biggest inspiration. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. My favorite thing to draw is girls and witches and creepy stuff, which should be pretty obvious, I guess, considering that's all I ever draw. I also like drawing animals sometimes. Nick Rayburn asks, any tips for someone possibly planning to go to school for art? Overall, I would just say go into art school, making sure that no matter what happens, you never stop having fun, because that's how people tend to get burnt out, and that can really mess up your future. So if you're finding your assignments totally soul-crushing, try to talk to your teachers and see if there's a way to make it more applicable to you specifically. That's something I really wish I had done, and I always thought that if I did that, my teachers would think I was a bad student or I wasn't like well-behaved or something, but actually I found out later that if you show that kind of initiative, it can actually have a positive effect on your relationship with that teacher. So don't be afraid if you feel like you need to alter the assignment to be something that's more close to what you actually want to do professionally. Also, just work hard. Those are my top tips. Lumi asks, any YouTubers I look up to? I do really like a lot of gameplay YouTubers. I really like Cryotic. He was one of the first YouTubers I watched where his voice was kind of soft, and it helped me realize that someone like me could work on YouTube, even though I'm not a very yelly kind of person. And I actually realized that having a soft voice could be beneficial, so sometimes even play it up a little bit because I know people find it relaxing. I'm trying to think if there are any others. I really like the Game Grumps, but that's mostly just for fun. I don't know if they inspire me. I guess they inspire me because they're really committed to having a good time on their channel, which is admirable, I think. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of really great YouTubers, so yeah, that's all I can think of right now. Army asks, who in the art community really inspires me? I remember being extremely inspired by Mark Crilly, specifically, if we're talking about YouTubers. I don't watch him so much anymore, but when I was a little bit younger, I watched him obsessively, and same thing with Psychra. And then outside of that, I'm just really inspired by the creators of the media I enjoy. So Scott McCloud is a really great example, and some of my teachers, animators, and Miyazaki, that kind of stuff. I'm inspired by all of that. Amelia asks, how do you come up with your comic series? What was the process of coming up with ideas? I want to make a comic series, but I'm stumped. So if you're talking about like the idea, for Unfamiliar, I was basically just sketching. And I find a lot of the time when you're just relaxing and letting yourself sketch whatever comes to mind, that can be when you have your best inspiration. It's really hard to kind of force that to happen. My number one tip for getting inspired is to just let yourself be not bored, but like relaxed and just trying to like see what it is you really like. Because with a comic series, it is really labor intensive and it takes a long time to finish a fairly simple scene. So just really think about what you like in comics when you read them. Think about what makes you interested in a story, and then try to apply that to whatever you're trying to write. And yeah, just the number one thing that inspires me when I'm trying to write something is usually to read something I don't like very much. And like from my like thinking about like, oh, I wish they had done this differently, I wish it had turned out like this instead, a lot of the times that inspires me to do things differently and make my own story that would suit me better, because that's a lot better than complaining about stuff. And it's also really satisfying if like you're like, oh man, that story premise was so cool and they wasted it. You can just do it the way that you think would be better. And yeah, try not to be too like directly copying someone's concept, but like over the years you'll come up with a bunch of things that you wish you were seeing in stories, and you can add those to your new stories, and that will help inspire you. Stella Wright asks, advice for artists who want to start opening commission. Make sure that whoever you're getting a commission from, especially if you've never got one from them before, that they pay you at least half before you give them the final product. A good thing to do is to show them a sketch and have them approve the sketch, and then get paid then, so that they know that you're actually working on it. And then after you get paid, then you give them the full thing. So that can just protect both of you from getting ripped off. Inez says, who is your favorite musical artist? So I love music, and I love all kinds of music, so that's really tough. I'm a huge Melanie Martinez fan. I also like Lana Del Rey and Marina and the Diamonds I really love, but I also love like 21 Pilots, but I also love like K-pop. I like idol groups sometimes. I'm also really into Saint Motel right now, and Porter Robinson I love. There's really too many to even list, but that's sort of a sample of what I've been listening to most recently. Joey asks, do I carry a sketchbook around everywhere, and if so, do I recommend it? So I used to do that all the time, and I don't so much anymore because I don't really go anywhere. But I definitely recommend it, especially if you're someone who's wanting to do narrative work, because you never know when you're going to get inspired, and you want to make sure to capture that like initial burst of inspiration, because a lot of the time you can forget what is so cool about it if you have to wait. Best thing for me is these little tiny moleskins. They're not as expensive as a traditional moleskin. It fits in like your pocket. It's so tiny, like it could fit right here or in any purse, so it's really easy to carry around. Soleil Draws asks, are you planning to start any new art projects soon? Comics or short animations? Love your work. Thank you. Yes, I am. I'm currently working on one right now, and I'm waiting to hear back really important information about it, so wish me luck. I can't tell you anything about it yet, but regardless, it's gonna get made, so it just depends on the outcome of this, like when and how much of it will come out at once. I can't wait to tell you about it. EasyX Gaming asks, do I play games? And if I do, which are my favorite? So yes, I love games. I love Overwatch. I love Stardew Valley and Minecraft, and I love The Sims, and I also love Fallout. Fallout New Vegas is probably my favorite game of all time, I think. I don't think that, I know that. And then I also, a close second contender in that sort of genre is BioShock 2. And as far as board games go, my favorite board game of all time is Betrayal at the House on the Hill. I highly recommend it if you've never played it. Scribblefix asks, what are my plans for the future? So again, part of this I can't really say because it depends heavily on something that's going on right now. But if that doesn't happen, my plan is to go back to my hometown and continue being a YouTuber and continue writing my comic and just sort of doing that because it makes me really happy. It's already like a dream job for me. He says, what made you want to be an artist and how long have I been drawing? So it has been documented that I've been drawing since I was a tiny child and I never actually really stopped. The first time I got really serious about like trying to get better and not just drawing for fun was when I was 13. Senpai Bambi says, why did I start drawing? Did someone encourage me from an early age or did I just want to? I think I just wanted to, though my parents always encouraged me, and apparently my kindergarten teacher actually took my mom aside to say that my drawings were really advanced for my age of like 5 or 6 or something. Apparently they were very impressed with how I was drawing frogs. So I guess I was encouraged. I was encouraged a lot as a kid. So I think it's a bit of both. Like I wanted to do it and also I was encouraged. Katie asks, how do you get exposure and social media followers with your art? Basically, the best way to get exposure is to choose a consistent style. I actually can draw in multiple styles, but I picked the one that you see me using the most because it's the one I have the most fun with. So I just committed to it because I realized that if you draw in lots of different styles, people don't recognize your art, especially if you're a newcomer. So when people are following you, they want to know specifically what they're going to get. So yeah, try to be consistent and then also be uploading a lot. Rocky asks, how many times have I rushed my paintings for art school? I would say the like worst times that I've rushed, like when I was like seriously in trouble and I was like not even finishing, that only happened like maybe twice. And that was usually because I got the schedule mixed up and I thought I had more time than I actually had. But that's a bad feeling. The Lone Art Satyr says, Coke or Pepsi? I will always pick either cherry or vanilla Coke. Gianna asks, are there any kinds of good markers to use other than Copics? I haven't really tested any other kinds. All I know is that I hate Prismacolors because they tear up my hands when I try to take the cap off and they drive me insane. Like, there's these really sharp edges right here and the caps are really sticky and there's no way to get them off unless you hold on to the super sharp part, and like it just shredded me and I do not like them, and they also dry out really fast. So not Prismacolors, but I know there's other dupes that are less expensive than Copics and worked. Aria MM asks, you probably already mentioned it before, but do you use Critic? Nope. I Draw asks, is it normal for people to be their own harshest critic when it comes to art? Yes, it's extremely normal, and sadly it never goes away, but you can learn to kind of teach yourself to talk to yourself more nicely in your head about your art. That was something I struggled with a lot, and I still feel like pretty conflicted every time I post anything because I always see mistakes and you can never fix them all, but at the end of the day you just have to remember that someone out there is happy that you're posting your art and that you're drawing, and it's more important that you please that person than it is to please that like mean internal critical voice, and sometimes that voice can really help you get better, but just make sure it doesn't stop you from doing what you love. Limp Gimp says, what is your response to people who say digital art isn't real art? That one bugs me a lot. And I've lately had some comments that are asking questions like that, like, why don't you like draw for real or something? And it's just like, what I want to do is just be like, I just want to take like a video of me drawing on paper and then take a video of me drawing on my tablet and just show them that it's the same. I'm doing the same thing. I'm like using like a pencil to draw on a surface. It's just that it's a different tool, and like parts of it are easier and parts of it are more difficult, but like again, I think a lot of people think the harder something is, the more like legitimate it is, which is not, that doesn't make any sense. Artists have always been trying to make things easier on themselves. That's why like instead of crushing pigment and mixing pigment ourselves, most artists buy paint in a tube. It's why like you can now buy canvas that is already stretched and primed, you know, like there's nothing wrong with making your process easier, especially if it means you can make more art. Kieran asks, hey Haley, what art school did you go to? If that's too personal, who's your favorite character to draw? It's not too personal. I go to Alberta College of Art and Design in Calgary in Canada. And my favorite character to draw is usually Planchette. I just am very familiar drawing her, so she's the most like relaxing to draw because she's super easy for me to draw now. I Am Cam asks, I've heard that in order to get into art school, you need to know how to draw realism well. From your experiences, that's true. Yeah. Unfortunately, like I said, a lot of my teachers did not really respect cartoons anyway, so you need to, in order to like convince them that you should be allowed to do cartoons, you have to show them that you know the basics first. So usually that means almost every art school application should have at least one still life and at least one life drawing of like a real human that you actually sat in front of. So yeah, you do need to know how to do realism. You don't have to be the best in the world at it. I wasn't that great. I just was like capable of doing it okay, and fortunately my other skills carried me through. Esther asks, what is my favorite fairy tale? My top one would be Alice in Wonderland. Eros asks, did you ever think your YouTube channel would grow this much? Absolutely not. I'm so happy. Like I like had some like fantasies about being a YouTuber at some point. I still kind of like was like, what if one day I can be a YouTube partner and do YouTube videos, and like that would be so cool. And like, yeah, I had no idea. I never thought it would grow this much. So I'm really happy, and I'm going to commit my time and energy into this channel so that it can continue to grow and continue to be something you guys can benefit from. So yes. Skya Doodles Kawaii asks, what is your favorite hobby besides drawing? I like learning Japanese. I also like playing video games, and I like to read. I also write a little bit, and making videos, of course. Rose asks, what are some of my biggest art pet peeves? So, like, for myself, like when I'm doing art, my biggest pet peeves are like drawing on the wrong layer. I also hate when I leave like tiny little gaps in my inking, and then while I'm trying to color, it's just like a disaster because I can't use the paint bucket tool. I have to like manually draw in everything because my inking was bad. Literally Lena asks, will you be going to any YouTube events like VidCon, etc.? I've been to VidCon once. I would love to go again because when I went to VidCon, I was not a YouTuber, and I think it would be a lot more fun to go as a YouTuber. Maybe the next year? Like, who knows where my channel will be at by then? Maybe I'll be invited. Probably not, but I'll try to go soon. But I am going to SoccerCon this weekend, actually. So if you're going to SoccerCon, that's an anime convention in Seattle. I might be wandering around. So if you see me, absolutely say hi. Relatable asks, do you have any tips on how to stop comparing yourself to other artists and improving the way you feel about yourself? If you're finding it's really like taking control of you, stop looking at other people's art. I actually had to do this for a while. I unsubscribed from a bunch of art blogs and stuff I was following on Tumblr, and I just subscribed to like anything else. And that's extreme, but like it was really bothering me. It was taking over my life, and I was getting all like jealous and like having all these like very bad negative feelings, and it helped me to take a break from seeing people who were so much better than me or people who were so much more successful than me, just to like step away from it and just focus on my own work for a while. Chair asks, will you ever show the art portfolio you got into college with? Yes, I'm planning on doing that. I left it at home in the States though, so I can't do it until I graduate and go home. BW Artist says, what pen do you use for inking? When I'm not using my tablet, I use a Micron. Just look up Micron. It's the best pen you can get. I also sometimes use a ballpoint pen if I'm not trying to do something fancy, if I'm just sketching with it. Yeah, both of those are good options. Sassy Tyler asks, are you planning on making a video of your old art? Yes, I'm gonna do another redrawing. I'm gonna try to redraw my first ever thing that I ever posted online. That should be fun. That's another one of those videos that's on the backlog, and I'm just waiting to get to it. And then Pulminations asks, what are your brushes settings? So usually the flow is at 100%, and that's really, and the pen pressure is on. That's really the only setting that I have on all of my brushes. And then other than that, I just go with whatever settings are on the Kyle T. Webster brushes when I'm using them. Whew. All right, so that was all the questions I got on Twitter. If you have more questions and you want me to answer your question that I didn't answer, then please leave it down below and I will either try to answer it in the comment section or I will collect it up for the next time I do one of these. And yeah, I hope you had fun listening to that, and thank you so much for asking me questions because it's fun to answer them. And yeah, I'll see you later. Big thank you to my patrons, including Muffins McGee, Paynamel, Adrian Delport, Chartype, Den, Brock, Juan Alvarez, blah 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 blah, Adrian Morales, At Live Likes to Draw, Kate Meekins, and Ella Green. Thank you so much for your support.